So we awaited the lights out, and once the lights went out, Gary Paffett then from pole position would go into turn number 1 ahead of Nico Müller. It was a blistering start though from René Rast, who was trying to put himself alongside Timo Glock going through turn number 1 as the cars headed up towards the kink, which is turn number 2 and then turn number 3. You could see how eager René Rast was. He could be into position 4 before turn number 3. All he had to do was get past the car of Joel Eriksson and that of Pascal Wehrlein. No mean feat to be taken, but his line through the Remus turn was absolutely perfect. He got great traction and he was on his way in P4, look, before even half the lap had been taken. So Gary Paffett leading from Nico Müller. Then it was Paul de Resta in P3, and then René Rast and Joel Eriksson have a very good drive in the BMW as well. So they snake their way down. Gary Paffett now under pressure from Nico Müller with the DRS assist for Nico Müller into the Remus turn then. And Nico Müller on the outside of Gary Paffett. Gary Paffett, of course, without DRS available to him because he was not within a second of the car ahead of him. And that meant that he was something of a sitting duck for the Audi driver, Nico Müller, who went through on Gary Paffett to pick up that P1 place. So the first of the pit stops then, and this was critical as Paul de Resta comes out of the pit lane. Of course, he's on cold tyres. René Rast's tyres are up to operating temperature, and that means that Paul de Resta was always going to be vulnerable to René Rast, and that proved to be the point. So René Rast goes through on Paul de Resta, who indeed locked up going into the Remus turn, and René Rast was once again on his way then. So René Rast then, what a weekend he has had. Now, it was critical that the HWA team did a very good pit stop for Gary Paffett. Unfortunately, it didn't go brilliantly for him. As you can see, Nico Müller getting out and Gary Paffett still stationary in the pit lane. Lost a couple of seconds in that pit stop, and that would prove to be absolutely crucial. So Nico Müller back out into the race again. Here comes René Rast, getting past Gary Paffett really rather easily because Gary Paffett on cold tyres. Tyre warmers not allowed in DTM, so the tyres are not preheated. René Rast tyres completely up to temperature. And then who'd he got in front of him? Well, it was his Audi mate, Nico Müller. So P1 then with Nico Müller, P2 René Rast, P3 Gary Paffett. Of course, Jamie Green was leading the race, but Jamie Green had not stopped for his mandatory pit stop. And as René Rast reeled in, Nico Müller, well, it wasn't going to be too difficult for the number 33 car to go through on the inside of Nico Müller. And this would be, if it stayed this way, René Rast's 4th win in a row. Audi Sport Team Rosberg ready to celebrate the fact that their driver, René Rast, has put himself in a real position for the Drivers' Championship now because he finishes ahead of Nico Müller to take the race win. Nico Müller P2, Gary Paffett P3 and Paul de Resta P4. So René Rast then out of the car, absolutely delighted, and knows that the showdown is going to come at the season finale mid-October in Hockenheim, when René Rast then, who's in P3 in the Drivers' Championship, has got a real chance of overtaking those Mercedes cars of Gary Paffett and Paul de Resta.